Manchester United Kobbie Mainoo update is agreement almost done, set to be confirmed over summer. Kobbie Mainoo is awaiting a new contract at Manchester United, and now there's an update on the status and when he might sign. This summer there's one deal that Manchester United will be desperate to get over and done with early. This isn't a signing, but rather locking down Kobbie Mainoo to a new long-term contract which would secure his future at the club. It's always seemed likely that the two parties would reach an agreement, but there hasn't been an update in a while. Now, HITC's transfer expert Graeme Bailey has spoken exclusively with United in Focus to provide an update on the 18-year-old's situation. Kobbie Mainoo contract update. Through speaking to Graeme Bailey, we have been given a new development on the potential new contract for Mainoo this summer, an update which will please plenty of fans. That'll be confirmed over the summer. They'll try and do it before the Euros. It's not far off, the talks are virtually there, it's just crossing T's and dotting I's. Especially with someone like him where the contract will have built-in raises based on appearances and caps. But he'll certainly be signing, and I expect before he goes to Germany with England, they'll want it tied up by then. To secure Mainoo down to a new 5+ year contract would be huge for Ineos and secure the face of their project going forward. What is Mainoo's current contract situation at Manchester United? The urgency to get Mainoo secured on a new contract has nothing to do with the risk of him departing the club, as he still has 3 years left on the deal he signed in February 2023. But considering the role he is now playing for the club and being a guaranteed starter who's also in the England squad, improved terms and an extension would show him how valued he is. Currently, on £10,000 a week, we can expect Mainoo to end up on a wage similar to the contract Alejandro Garnacho signed following his breakout season, which is worth £50,000 a week. But as mentioned above, the contract would probably have clauses which would see a raise after 50 appearances and 20 caps for example, or performance-based to keep him hungry to perform. This is a smart method of doing contracts as opposed to handing him a £100,000 a week plus deal based on half a season. Fabrizio Romano issues Mainoo contract update Man United fans will love. Kobbie Mainoo and Manchester United are currently locked in contract negotiations, according to football transfer news expert Fabrizio Romano. The 18-year-old has exploded onto the scene at Old Trafford this season, featuring 24 times and establishing himself as a starting player in the middle of Erik ten Hag's midfielder. Mainoo's rapid change in status, though, necessitates a new contract. Romano reports that talks are already underway with the teenager, who is locked to the Old Trafford side until 2027 as a minimum, with Man United holding the options for a further 1 year. We have confirmation of the contract talks between Manchester United and Kobbie Mainoo, Romano states on the Daily Briefing. Despite reports about other clubs, the conversations between the agents of Mainoo and Man United are ongoing, and Ineos are really pushing to keep the young midfielder at the club with a long-term contract. Mainoo is already on a long-term contract until 2027 with an option until 2028, so this is why it's not something imminent or urgent. The situation is not worrying at all for Manchester United, but they want to give the player a higher salary and include several add-ons in his contract to give him the best salary possible in the future if his growth will continue like it has this season. Talks will continue, and United want to make it happen in the next months. Conversations are ongoing and everything is going in the right direction, with Ineos convinced about making Mainoo one of the faces of their project for the present and future. Mainoo not rushing new deal. Previously, The Athletic reported that both Man United and the player are not hurrying contract talks. This is because Mainoo already has pay rises built into his current deal based around performances, which suggests he has already enjoyed a hefty pay bump since the beginning of the campaign. Neither the player nor the Red Devils, though, could have anticipated just how big an impact the youngster would have had, which likely means that he is still undervalued. Man United fans will certainly not complain if Mainoo is handed a new, improved deal to keep him at the club for the foreseeable future. Erik ten Hag gives updates on Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, Anthony Martial fitness. Erik ten Hag has provided a fitness update ahead of Manchester United's clash with Crystal Palace. Manchester United take on Crystal Palace on Monday night at 8 p.m, so there is plenty of time for the team news to develop and injury situations to shake out. As it stands, manager Erik ten Hag has provided a fitness update as Manchester United currently see it, heading into Monday's game. Ten Hag spoke at a press conference on Thursday, following news Jonny Evans and Anthony Martial had been spotted in training. Anthony Martial latest. Erik ten Hag clarified that Anthony Martial did not complete a full training session with his teammates. He said, Anthony Martial was partly in the team training. It's uncertain whether Martial would be included in the squad for the Palace game. We would say probably not. Jonny Evans latest. Ten Hag said Jonny Evans came through the session, but no decision has yet been taken on his involvement. He is taking the cautious approach. He said, Jonny Evans returned today in the team training and, tomorrow, we will see if it is enough before the 2 days before the game. Scott McTominay latest. Scott McTominay limped off late against Burnley, amid worries from MUTV pundits who feared it could be serious. The player allayed these fears earlier this week. The manager said he would be subject to a late call ahead of the game, commenting, Scott didn't train so far this week, but I expect him back in training on Saturday. Then we will have to see up to the game if he is 100% available or for, only, a part in the game. Bruno Fernandes latest. Bruno Fernandes has played through the last 2 games with a broken hand. Ten Hag said there is an issue with him, although did not specify if it was a different one. Nonetheless, he expects the captain could be involved. He said, we had an issue with Bruno, so he is a doubt for Monday, but he will fight to be a part of this game, as we know with Bruno. Never rule him out for any game and he is giving his best to be available. Marcus Rashford latest. Ten Hag does not expect Marcus Rashford to be available, saying he has no positive sign of progress on the forward's recovery. He explained, his issue after Coventry hasn't healed. I can't tell you when he will be back in training. We would expect Fernandes and Evans to be back in the starting lineup, and McTominay on the bench at Palace. United still have a number of long-term absentees, several of who could become available ahead of the FA Cup final. Mason Mount and Sofian Amrabat made their returns in the last game, while the under-21 game taking place on Friday night has no clash with the first-team match, which should see a number of young talents feature in both squads. Manchester United duo return to training ahead of Crystal Palace clash. Manchester United duo Jonny Evans and Anthony Martial were both involved in Thursday's training session at Carrington, with the Red Devils preparing for Monday's trip to Crystal Palace. Evans has featured more than expected for the 20-time English champions during the 2023-24 campaign, turning out for the club on 25 occasions after surprisingly signing a 1-year deal last summer. The Northern Ireland international has struggled with fitness problems of late, though, with his latest issue occurring against Chelsea at the start of April. Evans has missed Man United's last 4 Premier League matches, in addition to their FA Cup semi-final against Coventry City, but he was back in training on Thursday and seemingly has an outside chance of being named in the squad for the clash with Palace at the start of next week. Martial was also present in Thursday's session, with the Frenchman working his way back from the groin operation which he underwent earlier this year. Jonny Evans, Anthony Martial returned to training for Man United. Speaking during his press conference on Thursday, Ten Hag said that Evans was fully involved in Thursday's training session, while Martial was partly in team training. Jonny Evans returned today for team training. Tomorrow we are off and then 2 days until the game. Martial was partly in team training, the manager told reporters. Martial has not actually featured for the Red Devils since the middle of December, as he was unavailable for a period due to illness before it was revealed that he needed to undergo a groin operation. The 28-year-old has only managed 2 goals and 1 assist in 19 appearances for Man United this season, and he is set to leave the club on a free transfer at the end of June.